So that's our first home duel. So anxious to get going, and we have a nice team. So we're ready to get going. So really, questions for me or?
What excites you about the group that you have right now?
Just their togetherness, their unity, their purpose. We got a great culture on our team, and very, very blessed to have that. Just how they compete for each other. We could have had, maybe we probably could have been a trophy team last year going to the last day at the NCAA tournament. Had some unfortunate injuries with Payton Roby and Brock Hardy, broke his ribs the night before. So, but it's they just compete for each other, and it's really good. It's a unified group that is very together, and we got great leadership. Like I mentioned, we have 3 All-Americans and a Big Ten champ coming back. So those guys are really our leaders, and just because they had success is not why they're the leader. They're the leader because of their actions, what they do every day, how they conduct themselves, how they carry themselves, what they do off the mat, how they are student athletes. And so, Brock Hardy, who will be competing next weekend at the U23 World Championships for Team USA in Albania, of all places. And then Ridge Lovett, who's coming off a red shirt, national runner-up, and then Payton Roby, and then Silas Allred. So those guys are kind of our leaders, and they do a great job. And yeah, I could go on and on about him. So,
with Payton specifically, how is he? What has his rehab process been like? And
so Payton Roby was, as everyone probably read, was probably on his deathbed or close to, but he just made a miraculous comeback over the summer. Our trainer did an awesome job with him, Dr. Claire. All the doctors there did a super job with Payton, but he had to have skin graft on both sides of his leg, and his body just regenerated itself. So Tyler thought, well, maybe he'd be back on the mat in August, maybe at the best. Shoot, he was in early July and stronger and better than ever. He's mentally better, meaning he's just a stronger individual. Maybe he's more grateful, but his demeanor and his purpose for wrestling has reached new levels, if that makes sense. Yeah.
And obviously, you've talked about Payton before, just how much you admire him and the toughness that he brings. But just going through that experience, obviously, is traumatic and everything. What did you learn about Payton through all of that, and just like the type of person he is going through that and him coming out the other side?
Well, he's really even-keel guy. He is that way as a competitor, and when, pressure of life and death situation, he was laying in the hospital 2 days after the NCAA tournament. If I was his parent, his parents were. They were crushed, but, it really just reveals his character and how he is as a person. He didn't panic. He just trusted the doctors and yeah, a lot of funny little stories about it, but he really withstood the pressure of the moment and just took it day by day and came through and he's better than ever, and he's just very grateful for where he's at, I think.
You got time for one more?
BTN just announced, a number of matches and everything that's going to be on the network, but even beyond just like the primary network, another 80 plus, and Nebraska is going to be well represented through all of that. What does it mean for both Nebraska and wrestling as a whole to see just the continued build of network coverage, both on BTN, Fox Sports, and beyond?
Yeah, it's amazing. It just shows the popularity of our sport. There's a lot of good athletes out there. In our sport, there's, from 20 years ago when I came here till now, the just the athletes themselves, the commitment is insane. It's tremendous, and people notice when they go and watch a match. I mean, not only their athletic ability, but the competitiveness, right? And then I would say wrestling's probably the second highest anxiety sport. UFC, going in the octagon, is probably the highest, but wrestling, being a one-on-one sport, you really reveals how you are as a competitor, not just as an athlete, but as a competitor. That's a big difference. And so I think, people around the country, they recognize, man, this is great. This is a great sport, And so that's why our viewership's been off the charts in the Big Ten. And, we've been asked to be on, they're jamming more matches in, and a little tougher on the student athlete, but we'll adjust. We have to wrestle at 9 or so on. They're doing, double duels and stuff on different nights. So it's good for our sport,
Coach, UF as good as the Big Ten has been historically, what would you say is the key to being successful in the conference?
Well, I don't really judge success by wins and losses. It's more how we compete. It's more our output, right? What we're bringing to the table, our output more than the outcome, right? So it's more, I think if we compete consistently up and down the lineup, that's what we're looking for. We have some really good guys, and so. But so does Penn State, so does Iowa, so does. There's so many. There's a lot of good teams, so you can never take a night off, like volleyball, football. So on. So, you have to be on your A game, and so just looking for that consistency from 125 all the way through to heavyweight. Yeah.
James Green's on your staff.
Yeah.
You've had Jordan,
Yes.
one of your coaches. How do you get these guys to come back and work for you and with you?
Yeah. James Green's great. He's going to be, James semi-retired a couple years ago because he had 2 hips replaced. Okay. He's a 29-year-old man that he had hip problems, even in college. And, he wants to continue to wrestle through 2028. And so he's making a comeback that way. But then when Robert Kokish left, it just made a spot for James not to only just train, but to coach. And he was the national development coach at USA Wrestling. So he coached all the U23, U20, U16 teams worldwide. So he's done a great job, and he did that for a couple years. So he loves coaching and really wants to give his heart that way. And then as a competitor, it just makes sense. And it's a blessing to have him and Chandel and the girls back, and one good family. So,
Thanks, Coach.
yeah, thanks, guys. Go Huskers! Here's a couple.
Huskers are at Northwestern tomorrow night and host Wisconsin on Saturday.
Good. It's week 5 of the Big Ten for us, so we're in the grind. What do you guys got?
Are you allowed to talk about Wisconsin before Wednesday night after the match?
Nope. We're focused on Northwestern right now, so they're good, and we went 5 there last year, so they definitely have our attention. They probably have a player right now. We've had voted Big Ten Player of the Year. She'd probably get it. Their outside hitter. So we got our hands full right now without worrying about what's happening this weekend.
How do you make sure that the focus is on Wednesday and aren't looking ahead?
This is what I talked to our team yesterday about Northwestern, and this is it's a tough place to play. they're done very well. I think the two surprise teams right now are Northwestern and Indiana in the Big Ten. And because Northwestern took they're one of their best players at Wisconsin now, and their other best players at UCLA. So I mean, he's done a great job of reloading that team. So that's our focus. We can't. We're not getting caught up in anything else. I mean, that's how we roll.
How tough are those midweek road matches in the Big Ten?
It's no different for us. We're used to play. I mean, I think we've played almost every night of the week now, except for Monday. So for us, it's no big deal. The problem is how do you train hard all week, but you got a match on a Wednesday and a match on Saturday. So you got to have recovery in there. You've got to try to train hard. You can't overtrain them. So that's the balance. When you play Friday, Saturday, you have a couple days in the beginning of the week that you can go hard, just like football does. They go hard, today and tomorrow, and then they start backing off. We kind of do the same thing. But when you play Wednesday, Saturday, it's different game.
Do you prefer Wednesday, Saturday, or 2 matches on the weekend?
I like Wednesday, Saturday because for the reason that you can really prepare for each team you're playing. For training purposes, I like playing Friday, Saturday. But, it's tough when you're on the road playing back-to-back on the road on a Friday, Saturday. That's where it gets really tough.
Hey, John, with as much youth as you have in your lineup, what have you seen as the biggest challenges to adjusting to the grind of the Big Ten versus what you face, challenging teams but a different kind of pace in the non-conference?
Well, I think the non-conference is kind of like the honeymoon phase. It's fun, it's exciting. You're playing all these different teams. Now that's why I said in the very beginning we're in the grind. So it's week 5, and it's every match is a really tough match. There's rivalries, there's emotions, there's players that have been playing against each other. So there's just a lot of more dynamics in the Big Ten, and as you can see, there's a lot of upsets. I don't know if they're upsets, but there's just, on any given night, anybody can win. And so you've got to have the mindset of playing well. And, and I don't, I challenged our team yesterday. We've got to go on the road and try to play a really solid match. We haven't really done that yet. We've played some really good volleyball, and we got some wins, but I don't think we've played a really solid match. We've been high air in some places. We've had games we got blown out. So that's our challenge, is can we go have a really solid effort on the road. So that's their challenge for this Wednesday.
How much value is there in winning when you don't play well, like you've seen sometimes?
You have to win ugly, because you're not going to play great every night. But, when we're at home and the crowd's into it, it's a little easier. We've got to find a way on the road to keep our focus and our consistency and play a good, solid match, for 2.5, 3 hours, whatever it takes.
How do you work with the freshmen? I mean, other teams are getting tape on them. They know kind of what their tendencies are. How do you work with the freshmen to stay sharp and kind of evolve their games at this point of the year?
Just like we do with everybody else. I mean, it's just we have our plan or how we train and trying to get better every week. That's the real big challenge. And I think the older players understand that better than the younger players. The newer players are going to, I think they kind of take deep breath. We just won a match, so take a deep breath where, hey, 4 days later we're going against another team. So that's the challenge for those guys, understanding, every night and every match is a really big match, and you've got to be ready to perform. So it's a mindset.
Let's focus on Northwestern before what happens this week, and it starts with you and your staff. How do you handle that, knowing that there's additional media interest in the game, ticket sales? I'm sure you've heard about that. How do you keep yourself insulated so your message gets trickled down to your players?
Just watch video from last year against Northwestern. They should have beaten Minnesota at Minnesota, and so that's where our focus is. We have no problem staying focused on Wednesday.
I'm sure your players are insulated a little bit from it, but I'm guessing you hear this week from a lot of people about this weekend's match. What do you hear from them, whether it's fans or other coaches, and what's your response to them about their enthusiasm and interest?
Well, it's great for volleyball. It's but we're used to playing these matches, so if this is where you want to be. You want to be playing these type of matches. So for us, it's business as usual. So I don't really feel like it's any different, and so it's like I said, it's business as usual.
You're a football guy, and so Ohio State has Michigan, and Oklahoma used to have Nebraska, Oklahoma. And even though you play a game right before you would play the big game, that other game's always looming in the background. Like, what lesson can we learn from this game that translates to the big one? Does Wisconsin have that kind of presence in the program? Like, do you think about what about this match is going to translate to that one?
No. I'm just thinking how we're going to get better today. So how can I design the practice, challenge these guys? What do we need to work on? That's our focus, is getting better.
Are there things that you can extrapolate from every match that translate to that, given where they are and the kind of program they are?
Well, we talk about, we have what we call national championship drills that we do in practice. This is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to perform at this level to win a national championship. Well, we're playing teams that you have to go through to get there. So that's how we don't phrase it on this or that. It's we call them national championship drills.
What does that look like?
Well, you have to come to practice, and there's certain drills that we do, and that's what we tell them. And you got to win this drill. That's the level we have to be at.
Northwestern is 9-9, but you were just saying like they've done a great job of rebuilding, and there's things about this team that it feels like if they had just gone a little bit differently, their record would be very different. They took Minnesota to 5 sets. They beat Purdue earlier this month. I know you mentioned a key player, but what specifically as a whole of this Northwestern team do you need to be aware of getting ready for this midweek matchup with them?
Well, he's a really good coach. They have a really good system they run. You can tell they're very well trained, and that's what's a sign of a good program, when you can just get some new players in there, and then they're going like this, this season. So may have been a little rough starting out, but they got it going. They got a great setter. So he's a good coach. I mean, he's won 2 national championships coaching men at Loyola. Who's done that? So much respect for them, and they're a very good team, and they've got a player that teams have had a really hard time stopping.
John, I know you've talked after each one of your road matches in the Big Ten about the environments that you've played in, and you've gone into a lot of gyms that have set records for attendance and been intimidating. But overall, what can you say about the volleyball environment that you guys are seeing outside of the Devaney Center as you go through the league this year?
Yeah, it's been mind-blowing because, I attribute it to the stadium match here. I just think there's just been an interest, one in Nebraska. We did this thing. There's a lot of popularity. I think people want to come and see us. 2, I think, they're having big crowds everywhere, and I think it's just created this interest. I just, read the WNBA had their record crowd last night. So women's sports is on fire right now, and I think the stadium match had a lot to do with it. And now you're seeing that spill over to, a lot of volleyball matches, and that's why everybody's breaking records. I mean, whoever, if I'd have told you we're going to play in front of 9,000 at Michigan, are you kidding me? I mean, they usually play in this natatorium. It's an old swimming pool that they converted. It's an old cracker box gym that, sometimes they'd fill it, most of the time they wouldn't. And here they are playing in front of 9,000. So that was pretty impressive. Same with Michigan State. Michigan State tended to draw better, but Ohio State's been sold out. Indiana's sold out now several times. So volleyball's on fire right now. And I think a lot of it's from the exposure from the stadium match. And then, of course, Iowa women's basketball just, so I don't know if they sold out that stadium or 55,000. Yeah, I mean, who would ever thought that? So it's women's sports is really on the upswing right now.
John, in addition to Bergen's setting, I believe she's at like 2.5 digs per set. How have you seen her game develop, and did she maybe not get the credit that she maybe deserves defensively for what she's bringing to your team?
It's a great call. She's done a really good job developing her block and her defense, and all you have to do is look at all the number of sets that Lexi has every match. Well, those are coming off, most of them are coming off Bergen Stiggs. So she's doing a really good job. Usually with setters, I always get frustrated because they don't play defense. But, Nicklin was probably the greatest defensive setter we've ever had. And I think Bergen has taken a lot of pride in that. So she's doing a nice job.
Final questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.